Yes, it's major history, and according to recent reports, as you well may have heard, there's been renewed conflict from between the State of Israel and the Islamic Republic of Iran uh, several days ago. And to borrow a phrase from Cold War era, the balloon has gone up uh, to denote the worst case scenario between adversaries. Months of posturing, threats, and rumors finally exploded into an open conflict. Israel began its campaign called Operation Bringing Lion, I think. Vast array of targets struck, including high-ranking military and scientific personalities, many of whom were eliminated. And of course, Iran has retaliated immediately, causing numerous casualties and a few deaths in Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and other locations. Israel's principal targets obviously was to neutralize, degrade, and if possible eliminate Iran's potential for obtaining a nuclear capability. They claim to being successful in this endeavor, at least in the short term, with the elimination of these scientific brains, scientific uh, personalities. It will be very difficult, but not impossible, for Iran to reconstruct and reconfigure its any potential nuclear plans or operations. Now, this is not the first time Israel has undertook this type of operation. Many years ago, in the early 80s, Israel struck Iraq's new nuclear reactor, destroying it and putting it in operation permanently during the regime of Saddam Hussein, using American-made F-16 fighters. Also, during this current operation, American-made warplanes apparently figure prominently in these operations against these Iranian targets, including nuclear facilities. So it may give Israel a temporary respite, but it remains to be seen whether this will be a permanent setback to Iranian potential uh, operational capability in the nuclear sector. But however, Israel seems to be determined to eliminate, neutralize, and permanently disable any Iranian nuclear ambitions, whatever the cost. Now, it remains to be seen whether the Iranians were able to retaliate effectively against these apparently very effective strikes as endured. This is the onset of round 3 of these back and forth strikes and counter strikes between Israel and the Islamic Republic of Iran. Borrow a phrase from Winston Churchill: this is not the end, nor is it the beginning of the end, but more than likely it's the end of the beginning of a long-term conflict. And we'll have just to wait and see how it concludes in the coming days or weeks. Thank you. Yes, this is major history, and I received some heartening news, which I believe has been a long time coming. I understand that the newly elected mayor of Tulsa, Oklahoma, has made a plan for reparations or restitution to engage funds for the survivors or the descendants of survivors of the Tulsa Race Massacre of, I believe, 1921. If you're not aware of it, the black section of the town, or Negro section as they used to call it, was accosted, invaded by a murderous horde of thugs and white trash elements of the opposite side of town, intent on burning, pillaging, looting, and destroying prosperous section of Tulsa known now as the Black Wall Street, one of several prosperous towns that were established by blacks migrating from the South, established their communities to support and sustain their neighborhoods and their established livelihoods. Greenwood had many prosperous businesses, banks, barbershops, stores, hardware stores, livery stables, and the like. Unfortunately, they could not withstand the assault of these racist, drunken and crazed mobs. However, bravely they fought against them. Their section was devastated, and an end result, in addition to the loss of property, built up decades of hard work and struggle, many, if not hundreds, lost their lives due to the action of the racist mobs. I understand this fund will, in its entirety, consist of over $100 million. I would say this is the bare minimum that should be devoted for the section of Greenwood, which was shining light for the black community in America until that fateful and tragic days. For us, this was equivalent of a 9/11 in its impact for the communities of that area, the black community of that area. And more than 100 years later, maybe possibly that grief-stricken community might receive some type of redress for their losses several generations ago. There may be one or two survivors yet, but in my view, late is always better than never. And it's been a long time coming, and hopefully, God willing, mayor's plans will succeed and accomplish what should have been belatedly done. Hopefully, that community will finally receive some justice, long overdue. Thank you. Yes, major history, and I recently heard that the current pastor of Abyssinia Baptist Church in Harlem, New York, recently installed as senior pastor there, formerly senior pastor at Bright Hope Baptist Church in Philadelphia, has been installed as senior pastor at Abyssinia Baptist Church, where he was assistant pastor previously. And at a recent funeral several months ago of the songstress and musical icon Roberta Flack, Reverend Buss has reported to describe his church, Abyssinia Baptist Church, as the Black Vatican. Is this a historical fact or myth? Is this should be taken literally or as a metaphor? Number one, I don't consider myself a religious authority, just an observer in current affairs and a student of history. Well, there are many significant and iconic black churches in America, among them Mother Bethel AME Church in Philadelphia, uh, Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia, home church of Dr. Martin Luther King and Jr. and his father, Martin Luther King Sr. Abyssinia Baptist Church has a long and storied history, founded around 1808, and in the succeeding decades has been a place of joy, comfort, consolation, and community support for the African American community of New York, specifically in Harlem. So it should be seen as a cornerstone of a religious, a hope, a foundational church for the African American community in New York, and really a focus of support for that community. And there's many important leaders like the Reverend Calvin Butts and Adam Clayton Powell. Given that, I believe that notwithstanding its storied and iconic history, I tend to think that common is more as a metaphor because it was founded as a place of local support, not as a central authority or governing authority for the African American community as a whole. But I do think its historic status is well deserved, and Reverend Kevin Johnson is an esteemed and very able leader of that church. But notwithstanding that, I think that I don't know if it rises to the level of a Black Vatican. Like I said, I'm not a religious authority, but I will leave that up to you to decide that. I'll just bring out the fact that it is a very historic church, a central pillar of support for the African community in New York and places far beyond New York City. Best wishes to Abyssinia Baptist Church and its newly installed pastor, Reverend Dr. Kevin Johnson. Thank you. Yes, this is major history, and recent selection or election of current Pope Leo XIV has ignited some controversy in some quarters as regard his ancestry. I would like to comment briefly on this and add my personal perspective on that situation. According to recent documentation, Pope Leo XIV, birth name Robert Prevost, has ancestry amongst the Creole population of New Orleans. That is, some of his great-grandparents may have been Creole. I personally do not ascribe to the one drop theory, which says that one drop of African or Negro ancestry identifies a person as being Black. I myself personally have taken a DNA test, and according to the results, I had ancestral roots in several ethnicities: African, European, and Native American, majority being African. So to my mind, Pope Leo ancestral roots is a microcosm of America ethnic and cultural landscape. I have a small percentage of Native American ancestry, somewhat larger percentage of European or Caucasian ancestry, but I never at no time claimed that I was either Native or European ancestry. And I think conversely, the same rule should apply to Pope Leo. While he may have had some Negro or African ancestry like mine, you have to go back several generations. In my case, Native American; in his case, African or African American ancestry. We would have to go back several generations past his great grandparents to find a pure Negro ancestry. So I believe he's a microcosm of America, and that one should not be surprised if he doesn't claim African or Negro ancestry, because the fact of the matter, he is not African American, although some of his distant relatives or ancestry may have been. Just like mine may have been Native American, but 4 or 5 generations back. So I think the majority of the Roman Catholic population are not concerned at all about his ancestry, and his selection was not based on his, or he was not excluded on the possibility that he may have had African or Negro ancestry. So Pope Leo is a microcosm of cross-pollination of ethnic groups like many of us, including myself. And that's my personal take on it. Thank you. Yes, this is major history. And this morning I received the unfortunate tragic news, the loss of life of 2 Israeli embassy employees down in Washington, D.C., lost their lives at the hands of a perpetrator who implicitly admitted his deed shortly after the act. During his apprehension, he was heard to shout, "Free Palestine." Of course, this is a very interesting statement on the part of the suspected perpetrator. Now, this crime has been widely seen as being anti-Israel or anti-Semitic. However, sometimes there's no clear defining lines between the two. While the suspect may have seen his act as being anti-Israel or anti-Zionist and not anti-Semitic, as alleged by the Israeli authorities, his act will undoubtedly be applauded by anti-Semites nonetheless, regardless that his motives may have been political and not racial. It brings to mind a year or two ago during the campaign 2024, Biden versus Trump, the inveterate anti-Semite and racist David Duke surprisingly endorsed Ms. Jill Stein of the Green Party, who happened to be Jewish, allegedly because of her anti-Zionist, pro-Palestinian stance vis-a-vis the Israel-Gaza war. So he apparently took this opportunity to endorse her, irregardless of his previous anti-Semitic history and his association with the KKK. So In short, sometimes there's no clear uh, delineation between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism in some cases, and that anti-Semites and anti-Zionists sometimes actually support one another. So their political affiliation, the far left and the far right, sometimes see common cause in some of these instances, and this might be one of them, unfortunately. Thank you. Yes, this is major history, and I've heard of some unfortunate event in the Fairmount Park section of Philadelphia. We're doing the annual Memorial Day cookouts at around 10:30 in the evening. A series of shootings broke out in the park, and several people were shot, and in all, and unfortunately, two may have lost their lives. And most of the victims, I understand, were teenagers. And this is a very lamentable development. Memorial Day is traditionally a day of cookouts and unofficial start of summer, but it might also be called the ghetto hunting season, or the beginning of the ghetto shooting season. Here in Philadelphia, Chicago, and other places, traditionally, along with the gatherings, you usually see a big uptick in shootings at some of these gatherings. And during the summertime, annually, there's also a dramatic increase in the number of shooting incidents in Philadelphia and elsewhere. So mindful of that fact, I personally, I tend to stay away from such gatherings. And fortunately, this has been a recurrent development, and I anticipate a general trend upward here in Philadelphia and probably other cities as well. And this is a very disturbing development. And despite the protestations of city officials, including the district attorney and chief of police, I think the public in general should be aware that a decline in the annual rate of crime recently does not make this city a safe one in comparison to other cities in other countries. For instance, Tokyo, Japan, which is much larger than Philadelphia, the number of shootings on a monthly basis, you can basically count on one hand, if not the whole year. So allegedly progress has been made in this vein, but I think this city has a long way to go before they get this ghetto hunting season under control. Thank you. Yes, major history, and I like to address an issue I talked about several times before in recent past about the proclivity for violence among this new generation of rappers. And we just saw an example of that over the past weekend in Philadelphia, where a young man whose birth name is Quadir Johnson, I believe, who goes by the his rap name of LGB Qua, lost his life on all days on Mother's Day this past Sunday, and is reported to have been attempted robbery. He was reported to be wearing allegedly expensive gold chains, and evidently the several robbers saw him as a prospective target. And in my view, these rap videos and some rap artists promote a very uh, precarious lifestyle where they magnify and glorify material things and material possessions. Similar incident happened several years ago with another Philadelphia born rapper in LA, PNB Rock, who lost his life in similar circumstances. So this should be a warning sign, a red alert, and it should have been a red alert to these individuals that promoting this type of materialistic type of values and displaying ostentatious display of wealth in the ghetto, in the hood. You can become an easy target for would-be robbers and thugs. And unfortunately, this may have transpired in this latest incident. And I contrast it to a singer of my generation, Mr. Johnny Mathis, who will be retiring from the music industry this month. Spanning a career of many decades, about 60 years. Johnny Mathis has been an iconic figure in the music industry. Never heard anything connected with him, a scandal of any kind. So this new generation of rappers, I must say, they don't promote the type of positive values that our musicians in times going by. Even though this, for my understanding, the individual rapper LBT Acquired was not personally connected with any type of criminal activity, but this type of promotion of materialistic values and displays of wealth and jewelry, you can become a obvious and easy target for criminals. And this may have happened to this young rapper, unfortunately. So I give my condolences, but this should be a warning sign to individuals aspiring to involve themselves in this music genre. And this should be a note of caution to all those individuals concerned in this type of lifestyle. Thank you.